Hi, Nan Washburn here again to tell you about our upcoming concert, January 20th, called Miniature Masterpieces, but we've added a tagline this year to say, Quoth the Raven, play some more. And I'll be telling you a little bit about what that means in just a few minutes. But this is our annual concert that we scale down and bring small forces. It's big music, but with a small number of musicians. I think we have 12 or 13 of our best players coming in to play, and it's at St. John's Chapel here in Plymouth. And if you haven't been to one of our concerts there, you really should check it out. It's just an extraordinary space, both in sound and the beauty of the space. It's you know, where the St. John's Hotel is, but it's a little chapel inside of that building. And it really, we try to bring in very different kinds of programs. It's always a challenge for me to program it because there's lots and lots of big orchestra pieces, but to keep coming up year after year of really interesting smaller pieces can be a bit of a challenge. So this year, I think we succeeded again. The first piece on the program is very different, and if you don't look closely at the notes to find out how different it is, you might miss it because it looks like any other classical piece of the classical era by Joseph Bologna, who was a French composer, but his background is very unique. He was his father was a French nobleman, but his mother was a slave mistress, and he was born in the Caribbean, educated in France, rose to actually fought in the military there in the French Revolution, was quite an accomplished musician, played violin and harpsichord and all of this. This is his Symphony No. 2. That is also, I think it's the overture to an opera of his as well. But he's known historically as the Black Mozart, but it's a very, very fun little piece and definitely right in that classical era of the Mozart-Haydn variety that we're very familiar with. So that starts our program. Second on the program are 3 Gymnopédies by Peggy Glanville Hicks. This is not Eric Satie, who's best known for the Gymnopédies that he wrote, but she's an Australian composer. We've performed a couple of her works. We did a piano concerto of hers last year, so you might remember that. These are very different, really lovely miniature pieces that there are 3 of them, scored for oboe, harp, celesta, and strings. And they are basically, the Gymnopédie are slow Greek dances that were the idea of once muscled athletes had their velocity and strength, then they had to learn grace and the strength within that grace of dancing to very slow dances. So that's what the idea behind this. So finishing off, the first half of the program will be Vivaldi's Spring from his 4 Seasons, and we'll be featuring our concertmaster Joseph Deller, who really needs no introduction if you've come to our concerts. He's a wonderful, wonderful musician, and we're really eager to feature him. Every time I want to program this concert, I think of doing winter of this 4 Seasons, and then I realize I'm already looking forward to spring, and so it is always, it's one of my favorite pieces to play at this time of year in January is Spring. So you will definitely recognize the piece. It's performed an awful lot, but we never get tired of it, and we're really happy that Joe is going to be playing it. After intermission, we have a very, very unique piece and a composer that is new to me. Every year I try to find out, new and different musical voices, and this young composer is just extraordinary. Her name's Whitney George, and she's originally from California, like me. But is currently in New York and finishing her PhD there, and also doing really interesting work. She's a conductor, composer, lots of different kinds of media, mixed media in the music that she writes, and we are playing her Quoth the Raven, and she'll be telling you a little bit more about that, but we're very eager to meet her, and she'll be coming in and narrating the piece herself.
Hi there, my name is Whitney George. I'm a composer and conductor based in Brooklyn, New York, and I'm excited to be narrating my setting of Edgar Allan Poe's classic poem, The Raven, with the Michigan Philharmonic. More specifically about the work itself, technically it's a ton poem. It's a work that tells a story. In this case, the narrative quality is provided by myself instead of relying on the imagination of the listener. But there's two leitmotifs, two melodies that represent the characters, places, ideas, or situations. The first one is, of course, the raven, which is ever present in the piece. After our kind of grand opening, which sets our stage for a very mysterious midnight hour, we hear the initial leitmotif of the raven, followed by a sort of contrasting section, which indeed has the leitmotif of our narrator's long-lost love, Lenore. Her leitmotif takes a little bit less time. It's mostly about the presence of the raven and the raven's presence and persistence on the narrator, and that's mostly what pushes forward the piece of music.
After Whitney's piece, we will be coming back to a beautiful smaller version of what's not a very large piece to begin with, but Maurice Ravel's Mother Goose Suite, which is originally written for piano, and then he orchestrated it for chamber orchestra. And this is by one of our favorite arrangers that we've used before, that has scaled it down to the 12 or 13 players, whatever it is. And beautiful, so it's taking the lovely orchestration that Ravel created and scaling it just down, just ever so slightly. And it's a beautiful way to end, I think, a fascinating concert. So we hope to see you there. It's 2 o'clock on January 20th. It's a Sunday afternoon at St. John's Chapel here in Plymouth. Get your tickets now. You won't be sorry.